Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and that's right, the last Christmassy film that I'm reviewing for this year / this Christmas, and as I mentioned / teased / hinted in the second to last review video of, reviewing a Christmassy film, Yep, and I really think I have saved the best for last. That's right, you read the title, and you know what the last Christmassy film it is that I'm reviewing. And as I mentioned, this being a perfect sequel to one of the most beloved Christmassy films, I should say, of all time. That's right, guys. To wrap up this year's list of Christmassy films for me to review on the weekdays, I'm reviewing A Christmas Story Christmas. Yes, the perfect / proper following / sequel, however you want to call it, to A Christmas Story. I tell ya, A Christmas Story Christmas did not disappoint for me. My family and I, we absolutely love A Christmas Story, but I made it clear, when me and my dad reviewed A Christmas Story, don't get us wrong, we really enjoy A Christmas Story, but, we've seen it so many times, and not to be harsh or anything, but, for us, it gets a bit tiring, you know what I'm saying? But again, I don't hate A Christmas Story. I respect it for what it is, and I can't deny that it's one of the top best Christmassy films of all time. It really is. And yeah, and for there being a sequel to this, and this isn't the first time that there's been another movie adaptation that has to do with the Parker family, and from the late legendary author Jean Shepherd. There have been a couple of other movies that center on the Parkers. There was that one Disney TV movie that was on the Disney Channel, I should say, and there was also My Summer Story, and there was A Christmas Story 2, directed by the same guy who brought us films like Jingle All the Way and the 2 live-action Flintstones movies. Yeah, we know how that first Christmas Story sequel turned out, but now we have this, and yeah, again, as I said, this is the true, proper follow-up / sequel to A Christmas Story. Everything that A Christmas Story Christmas brought is just fantastic. All the, the homages and mentions, everything. And of course, it pays respect to A Christmas Story. And yeah, it's awesome, and they do it well, and they do it so well. Yeah. Okay, so as always, read the description / the story. Follows the now adult Ralphie as he returns to the house on Cleveland Street to give his kids a magical Christmas like the one he had as a child, reconnecting with childhood friends and reconciling the passing of his old man. So the film, taking place in 1973, we see an older Ralph Parker, once again played by Peter Binsley, if I think I'm saying his last name right. Again, you know me sometimes. He's now, of course, an adult, a married man, a father, and the rest of the Parker family. We have his wife, Sandy Parker, played by Erin Hayes. Yeah, I got that right. And I remember her best from that one Kevin James show where she played Kevin James's wife, and that Kevin James show, that I enjoyed it and my mom enjoyed it, and it was unbelievable when they, for no reason, fired her. If you guys know what I'm talking about, oh my gosh. But yeah, so Erin Hayes, she's a good actress, and she was pretty good playing the wife of Ralph Parker, Sandy Parker, a beloved and lovely married wife to Ralph, and the chemistry between them is really good, yeah, and romantic, of course, and they have their funny moments, of course, and their 2 kids. Mark, played by River Droshi, I might be saying his last name right or wrong, I don't know. And Julie, played by Juliana Lane. Yeah, I think I got that right. So they live in Chicago, and Ralphie, what he does for a living is he's a writer, and writing novels and so on. In fact, he's having trouble trying to, pitch, like, what he's writing, which being something science fiction. It doesn't really go so well. Even when he's trying to pull the same move like what he did to his teacher, with the fruit basket. Oh my gosh, like, that's pretty funny. And also, Peter, not only reprising his role as Ralphie, but he's also the narrator for this movie. And, of course, you have to have the narrator, a narrator for that matter. And even though, because with, the passing of Gene Shepard, and with Peter doing the narration for this, he actually does pretty good. And fun fact, he changed his voice a bit to sound closely to Gene Shepard. And yeah, that's a nice detail, and that's important, and nice job, Peter. And yeah, because I think he just about sounds exactly like Gene Shepard, because Gene Shepard, not only being the narrator, but he's supposed to be, as the narrator, an old Ralph Parker. So yeah, understandable. So again, Ralphie is having trouble, like, trying to get his next, like, story published and so on. And it wouldn't be A Christmas Story without fantasy dreams and stuff like that. And they were so good at this. You have to have them. You have to have those too. Yeah. And very soon, because they will be seeing Ralphie's parents and, the kids' grandparents. And a little bit later on in the day, Ralphie gets a call from his mother, and unfortunately, and boy, they had to hit us with this early in the film. Unfortunately, Ralphie's old man has sadly passed away, and it was, and not to mention, because this movie does a very good job not only paying tribute to the original, but also paying tribute to the late legendary Darren McGavin, who played the old man, and that's what he's best known for. So they did a really good job on that. And also, because what happens next is they go from Chicago to where they currently live, back to where Ralphie used to live, which of course being Cleveland Street, and that being, it was called, Homan, India. I think I got that word right. So yeah, Homan, India is where, he used to live, which is a part of Cleveland, I assume. Well, I mean, Cleveland Street, just help me out in the comment section. So they arrive there, and even, like, say, at times, Ralphie fighting with his vehicle, and it's pretty funny, and even, like, using an egg to get the car started up again and so on. It's pretty funny. So they arrive at Cleveland Street, Ralphie's old childhood home. It has not changed since, I guess, day one, and, since the movie, and the fact that, the actual house, and even as of today, you can stay at the house if you know all that stuff. And we, of course, get the appearance of Ralphie's mother, Miss Parker, being played by Julie Haggerty. Yeah, I think I got that right. And she's best known for being in the two Airplane films, from the early 1980s. And fun fact, because the original actress who played Miss Parker, the late Melinda Dillon, she was in talks to hopefully and supposedly reprise her role as Miss Parker, and even though she retired from acting long ago, well, she declined, and thus, Julie took on the role of Miss Parker, and, she's Julie Haggerty, so she's good in anything, and hey, she was a perfect choice to play Miss Parker. And unfortunately and sadly, Melinda Dillon would pass away 2 months after the release of A Christmas Story Christmas. I hope that she got to see A Christmas Story Christmas, and if she found it delightful, if she thought it was pretty good. And I'm sure that, Darren McGavin and Gene Shepard, they probably would find Christmas Story Christmas pretty good. I don't know on Gene Shepard, maybe. I mean, because again, I really think that A Christmas Story Christmas did a really good job, as I've been saying, and I'm going to continue saying. So when they arrive at Cleveland Street, they reunite with Miss Parker, Ralphie's mother, and, the kid's grandmother. From there on, what happens in Homan is pretty funny. Because basically, Ralphie and, even Miss Parker determined to make this Christmas a really good and magical Christmas, and that goes for Ralphie. He wants this to be a magical Christmas, and as I read in the story/description, make it a magical Christmas like he had when he was a kid, and of course what happened in A Christmas Story. So yeah. And still, Ralphie trying to, find a publisher for his story that he's been writing, his story/novel, and I think, yeah, because they do use the word novel. And what goes on with the main characters, like Mark and Julie at times dealing with two bullies on a snow speeder, I want to say, snowmobile, and even when they're trying to build a snowman. And, of course, we have the Bumpuses next door, and we have Delbert Bumpus, played by Davis Murray. And, the interactions between Delbert and the two kids, not bad, and I guess they kind of technically become friends. I mean, Delbert, seems like a nice kid, and him being a Bumpus. And of course we have the Bumpus's hounds, wouldn't be the same without the hounds roaming around, and Ralphie just, shoo. It's funny. And we of course see other familiar faces in Cleveland Street/Homan. We have Flick, once again played by Scott Schwartz, and Schwartz, once again being played by R.D. Robb, and it's nice to see them again. Flick is now running the bar that his old man used to run, so like father, like son, running a place. And, the chemistry between Flick and Schwartz and their interactions have not changed since they were kids. Oh, yeah, because Ralphie makes that pretty clear, because he's narrating. And also, it's nice how they do flashbacks from, clips/footage from A Christmas Story and, for its use in this. They do it pretty well. Like some with the old man and when they were kids, that kind of stuff. Yeah, pretty well done. And also, there was one character, he was one of the other main characters technically. I mean supporting characters, I guess you could say. Larry Novak, played by Henry Miller, because there was never a Larry Novak in A Christmas Story, so what's he doing here? I don't know. I mean, he's all right, and Henry Miller, yeah, because he's doing pretty good playing the character, and, Larry has his funny moments, and, I don't know, I would assume that the character of Larry Novak is not from the original book, okay, as a kid. Probably not, and just a new character for this, understandable, And it's pretty funny, because in the bar, sometimes, when the phone rings, and, and I've since learned this, and especially from The Simpsons, is there someone in the bar and so on, because that's what happens, and everybody panics when the phone rings and someone's name is being called out, and and Flick helping out, and he's got their back, and saying no, there's no Larry or whoever else in the bar and so on. It's that's pretty funny. Okay, continuing on, the next day, well, Ralphie has the list of what the kids want/asked for Christmas, and as what they said at the beginning of the film, when their mom asked them, what they wanted for Christmas and so on, I think, yeah, because Julie, one of the gifts that she asked for was Hungry Hungry Hippos. Mark wanted a sled, and yeah, so pretty good gifts that they asked for. And so again, Ralphie has that listed, but also things that they want to do, and Ralphie wants them to do while they're there in in Cleveland Street and Omen. So So, and then what happens next? Like, this, since when was Ralphie's mother terrified of Christmas carolers? Since when? I mean, it's not a big deal, but at the same time, it's like, when did this happen? This didn't happen in the original, but I mean, you know, it's okay, I guess. Maybe probably, my guess is probably as she got a bit older, maybe, I don't know. But it's pretty funny. Like, Ralphie and his mom, they're ducking on the floor, you know, hiding from the Christmas carolers. But Sandy, because, like, she doesn't get it, and she loves Christmas carolers, and she used to be a caroler as well, and it's pretty funny when Miss Parker is surprised to hear this, and she turns to Ralphie, and, you know, she asks him, how could you? And he says, I didn't know. It's funny. So Sandy, like, you know, she finds it a bit ridiculous, and, you know, she wants to hear the carolers, but, you know, Miss Parker doesn't care, and, you know, she wants them to hide and stay away from the carolers. And, you know, what Miss Parker describes about the carolers is that they will not leave you alone. They'll just keep singing, and you can't get them to leave your house, that kind of stuff. But, sure enough, Ralphie and Sandy, along with their 2 kids, they leave the house to get a tree. And that's what happens next, because, of course, you know, you have to have that too, just like in, you know, the original, getting a Christmas tree. And what Ralphie does is like what his old man did, like making a deal and stuff like that, you know, and if you've seen the original, I mean, who hasn't seen the original? Come on, guys. So, and, you know, bargaining and making a deal to, like, the Christmas tree salesman, I guess you could say, and surprisingly, it works. Ralphie accomplished, like, making a deal with one of the guys running the place where, you know, selling Christmas trees. And the Christmas tree that they got, oh my gosh, like, I mean, the tree that they had in the original was not that bad. I mean, golly, look at the Christmas tree in Christmas Vacation. But this one, oh my gosh, it's weird looking and it's tall. It even, like, scrapes the rooftop. And when Ralphie's trying to adjust it. And I was thinking of this, and coincidentally, because they, you know, they mention it and ask Ralphie in the movie, like, why couldn't they trim it? I was thinking the exact same thing. They could have easily done that. But Ralphie, he disagrees. And again, leaving scrapes on the rooftop, oh my gosh, that's pretty funny. And of course, getting the decorations up, and at a certain point, like, you know, the adults, and that being Miss Parker, Ralphie, and Sandy, they take a break, they sit on the couch, I think they have wine, I want to say, yeah, and, you know, they let Mark and Julie put up the rest of the decorations, and it's pretty funny, because, you know, just letting their kids, you know, do the ornaments while they relax, you know, it's pretty funny, and how many decorations they're putting up, and, you know, even at one point, like, getting a ladder for Julie to put more decorations up and so on. And it all comes down to putting the star on the tree. And, like, you know, of course, the kids believe in Santa Claus, you know, at their age. And, you know, I think, like, as Ralphie said that, you know, Santa won't come unless, you know, there's a star on the tree. So they go with a star. Like, you would sometimes put a star or an angel on the tree, but in this case, and just like what they did in the original, they put on a star. And at one point, Ralphie receives a phone call from someone who we had not seen until now, and that being his younger brother, Randy. Yes, we finally get the appearance of Randy, who, yeah, okay, and Randy, once again being played by Ian Petrella, if I'm saying his last name right. I hope I am. Randy, he is now a big-time, like, businessman, and he's, like, traveling the world, and right now he's currently at, I want to say, India? Yeah, and, you know, Randy being Randy and how he was when, you know, he was young and such, and how he and his brother, you know, their relationship and so on, and it seems like that maybe Randy is not going to be there for Christmas, and Ralphie tricks Randy into getting him to come to Cleveland Street, telling Randy, like, what's been going on with their mother, and how, like, he's tricking Randy into thinking that she hasn't been doing so well, and she ate, I think I want to say, like, a cookie or whatever it was, I can't remember, And it was pretty funny in how she only said one word, and that being Randy. And this gets Randy's attention, and he'll do whatever he can to get back to Cleveland Street and to be there for the holidays. It's pretty funny. And Ralphie got to his brother, and I want to say, like, because that because he kind of did the same thing to his mother, tricking his mother into thinking, because, an icicle fell on him. Something like that. Heck, I mean, even in the end credits, like, pictures, but that I'm gonna save until I get to the end credits. And have to mention what comes up next, because once again, the two bullies on the snow speeder, snowmobile, because, doing their bulliness, and even at one point, like, tackling on the two kids, and Ralphie coming to help his two kids and such. And that's when at one point, and again, Ralphie narrating, because thinking to himself, like, just like standing up to the bullies and such, and we get another fantasy/dream sequence, and just like what happened in the original, and, that being one of the first fantasy/dream sequences, Western, like cowboys. Oh, that was perfect. And the getup that Ralphie is wearing, the exact getup like Clint Eastwood wore. Oh, that was great. And Ralphie's wife and two kids, in Western wardrobe and taking on the cowboy bullies because of snowballs, and Ralphie saving, I think, his son or daughter from being hit by a snowball, jumping in, that. It's pretty funny, and Ralphie's been defeated by a snowball. That was pretty funny, and heck, because, the original, that fantasy/dream sequence of, Ralphie imagining he's a cowboy and with a Red Ryder BB gun, that was hilarious, and I think this, in A Christmas Story Christmas, it did pretty well for being, Western-themed, and for it being funny, of course. Alright, so after that, we then come to, one of the most infamous moments, like in the original, the downtown, mall, I want to say, what was it called again? I think it was Higbee's. Yeah, Higbee's. Yeah, Higbee's Corner, etc. And and looking through the shop window, have to do that, of course. And what's on for sale and such, on display, I should say. That's the word I'm looking for. What's on display. And of course, going into the Higbee's store/mall, and yeah, looks exactly the same as it did. I'm not sure, because, that is an actual store, isn't it? Because it's exactly the same as it looked in the original. I'm probably right, yeah. You guys can help me out on that. Let me know in the comments section. But yeah, so they're in the store, and actually, because, what happens in there... Oh yeah, because... Well, the kids, for one thing, they get in line to see Santa, and it's the exact same, display of, the meet and greet of Santa, you walk up the stairs, you meet him, and you go down the slide, and even, the costuming/wardrobe for the employees, the same. I mean, well, Santa, being Santa, same wardrobe as always, but the elves, the exact same hats with the bell hanging down. Of course you have to have that. I get, the employees in this kind of, I guess, being the same as how the employees were in the original, because, they just wanted to get it done and over with. So, and the elves were just not your typical elves, and I guess the same kind of goes for Santa, especially in the original, because, what the guy dressed as Santa says to the one employed elf, it's pretty funny. And as for Ralphie, Sandy, and Miss Parker, well, Miss Parker, for one thing, she goes to sit at the lounge while Sandy and Ralphie do the Christmas shopping. But actually, what happened with Sandy at one point, she actually, like, they were actually going to go ice skating. That was on the list of things that Ralphie and what he wanted to do with his family while they were there at Homan/Cleveland Street, one of them being ice skating. And, yeah, Sandy, she was a professional ice skater, if I'm correct, and as the movie establishes. And right as they're about to leave the house and go ice skating, because she's got her ice skating gear on, it looks like a princess. One of the characters commented on that. Well, again, right as they make their way out to the door, she slips and she broke a leg, and now she's using those things that Ralphie dug out of the attic. Yeah. And also, yeah, the attic, like, let me finish up on the Higbee's store/mall. Ralphie, it's up to Ralphie to do all of the Christmas shopping, and he succeeds. He succeeds on getting everything that the kids wanted for this Christmas and so on. And while the two kids are there, in line to meet Santa, there was one kid that was right in front of them, and he had a giant candy cane, like, I don't know, swirly candy cane, whatever it's called, and at times offering them if they want a lick or bite, and they don't. Like, why would you want to, who would offer you to take a bite or lick when it's theirs and they already, And right as they made their way up, and when that kid with that giant candy cane swirler, whatever, he was about to meet Santa, and he finished it. What happens next is he freaking vomits. Oh my gosh. And the elves are very quick to mop it up, and yeah, he's not sitting on Santa's lap. He just goes down the slide. It's pretty funny. But as for Mark and Julia, because, they meet Santa, and everything goes well. Even, like, oh my gosh, like, Julia is getting to the employee, Julie. Did I say Julia? Sorry. Julie, it's Julie. Julie, basically gets to the guy dressed as Santa, like, are you the real Santa? Like, how many reindeer do you have? And just her asking Santa these questions, like, again, she's getting to him, and it's pretty that was pretty funny what she was doing. And before Julie went down the slide, well, of course, asking Santa what she wants for Christmas by whispering in his ear, and his responses, like, I can, that can be possible, but the other, and one of the elf employees, like, asks him, like, what it was that she asked that is impossible to get, like, one that's possible for him to do, but the other not. And she asked Santa for a radiator for her dad's car, Ralphie's car, because again, at times Ralphie's struggling with his car, and at times, cracking an egg and making the car start up. Yeah, I think, because that's what that's about. So yeah, a radiator for a car. Well, that's very sweet of Julie, because of course, loving and caring about her dad and what's going on with him. Yeah, it's very important. So after the Parker's business in Higbee's is done and over with, and they're driving back home, well, just like in the original, they're singing a Christmas song on their way home and such in the car, and, well, yes, they're singing Jingle Bells, but this Jingle Bells is Jingle Bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. They're singing that. I was like, oh no, like that boy, I mean, and because this movie takes place in 1973, when did that song begin? Like, when did that start? I'm curious. I don't know. You guys can let me know, and I can look it up easily. Still, if you want to let me know, go ahead, as always, in the comment section. And, of course, what happens next, because, when singing the song, and just like in the original, because when finishing it, they go, so why do they do that? I'd probably just being goofy. Like, that's just probably what the Parkers do. I mean, they're goofy, so... Of course, the car breaks down once again, and I was thinking at first, like, oh no, is the one infamous moment in the original, but no, because what happens is that, well, Ralphie is, letting his family know that they're going to be, out there for quite a while he's repairing it. However, with Mark and Julie, they have a snowball fight, and Ralphie corrects them on how to make a snowball, and because, the certain way of making a snowball and, how they throw it. And it doesn't take too long for them to get their dad into joining in the snowball fight. The same goes for Julie. Like, she's all right, I guess for her, it was the moment for her that she feels perfectly fine. She didn't need those crutches, because of her broken leg. She was feeling fine. Miss Parker was going to join, but then she almost slipped, and Ralphie recommended that she just stay in the car. So they have a happy, lovable snowball fight, but at one point, because, they're on teams, Sandy and Mark against Ralphie and Julie, and Ralphie was determined to hit Mark with a snowball, but he didn't see it coming, and, well, it was bad timing, and of course it was an accident. He accidentally hit Julie in the eye! The snowball hit her in the eye! And just like how in the original with the narration, because, older Ralphie / the narrator saying, "Oh my god, I killed Julie!" Oh, that was pretty funny. And what happens next is, well, of course, eventually Ralphie does fix the car, and they make their way to the hospital for Julie's eye to be treated. But little did they know, when they got out of the car and made their way inside, the trunk of their car opened, and in the trunk were the presents that Ralphie had just bought at Higbee's. And not to mention, because, as I said, Ralphie having trouble with his car at times, not just, the fact that it's having trouble while it's, being driven and so on, but the trunk lid not closing at times, and it came open. Oh, and of course, because it opened, you knew what was going to happen next. Yep. And in the hospital, because while Sandy, Miss Parker, and Michael are waiting for Ralphie and Julie to come back, because, again, her eye being treated, there was one guy in the waiting room, because, the problem with him was that he had his hand stuck in a glass jar. Really? Because he was, I guess, to some people, whenever that happens to them, sometimes they just can't get their hand, out of a glass jar, whatever. And we see Julie with an eye patch, so she has to wear an eye patch throughout most of the film. And when they come out back to the car, well, Ralphie, Sandy, and Miss Parker make the discovery that, yep, the trunk lid was open, and, yeah, sure enough, the presents were stolen. We never find out who it was that stole the presents. I had a few guesses, but again, as I literally just said, they never establish who stole the presents. That's the last, we see those presents, and they're gone. That's it. So what happens next is, well, Sandy, Ralphie, and including Miss Parker, they try their best to explain to Mark and Julie about what's going to happen this time for this Christmas. And, of course, they're not really going to tell their kids what happened, but, tell it very differently and so on. And they kind of get the idea of what's going to happen, that this Christmas is going to be different, and probably for what's going to happen this Christmas, something that they're not going to like. And yeah, it's a bit disappointing, especially because, for what's happened and for the two kids. Okay, and also the attic, because at times Ralphie being up in the attic, and there's some Easter eggs and of course more tribute / homages to the original. We see the pink bunny suit, and we see the Red Ryder BB gun and the blue ball that the old man got. And also Ralphie's first ever typewriter, and he uses uses the typewriter to write an obituary of his old man, because I can't forget to mention this. After the passing of the old man, Ralphie is responsible to write a obituary about his old man for the newspaper. And I think at first it doesn't work for what he wrote, but what happens next, and until I get to that and mention it. And so after the kids get some bad news on what's going to happen this time for this Christmas, well, Ralphie tries to cheer up Mark, because Mark steps outside of the porch, and Ralphie takes Mark to Flick's bar, and it's pretty funny because it's nice of Flick that Flick offers Mark to help out in the bar, and Mark does pretty well, especially when Mark answers the phone, and of course, you know, someone's name, like, you know, is there a someone? And Mark does a pretty good job helping out the one whose name's been called on the phone. So yeah, nice job, Mark. And there's at one point where, you know, a moment between Flick and Schwartz, and, you know, has to do with Schwartz' bar tip, I want to say, you know, for it to be good, etc. And by doing so, Schwartz, you know, dares... not Schwartz, Flick. Getting the names mixed up. Flick dares Schwartz to, you know, slide down the ramp, and he triple dog dares Schwartz. Yeah, Flick gets to Schwartz this time, and by saying triple dog dare, like, yeah, by saying that and everybody gasping. Oh, that's pretty funny. And what happens next is, well, they go to the ramp that, well, I think with the ramp and that location of the ramp, it's closed off. But, you know, for Schwartz, going to the ramp and using a sled, he does it! He slides down the ramp and he goes flying and he lands and, ooh, like, yeah, that didn't feel good. And what happens is, like, yeah, he's a bit unconscious, but it doesn't take him too long to wake up, and he at one point burps, and it was a pretty smelly one. Yeah, and, I mean, everything's good now with Flick and Schwartz, and Schwartz's bar tip is all right. And then apparently, because like everybody in the bar starts like snatching the kids' sleds and sliding down on one of the hills. It's pretty funny. Even Mark does so by sliding down with a sled. And what happens is, with Mark, he crashes into, I want to say, the front of a car or something, and he basically broke one of his hands. And Ralphie narrating, he says, "Oh my God, I killed Mark." Oh, that was too good and funny. And so the next day after that, because, well, we now have Sandy with a broken leg, Julie with an eye patch because after, you know, a snowball accidentally hit one of her eyes, and Mark with a broken hand. Even when Ralphie and Sandy went to bed, Ralphie mentioned that, and that got one of her eyes wide open. Like, it was, that was pretty funny. What? And what happens next, you know, because on the next day, well, and as I mentioned, because Ralphie, writing an obituary of his old man for the newspaper, not only that, but still trying to find a publisher for his next story that he's writing, again, something science fiction. All of that just kind of at first goes downhill, and Ralphie at one point, I guess, like throws away his like story, his paper and such, and even like say with the obituary of his old man and how that didn't go so well, Miss Parker assures Ralphie and gives Ralphie advice on, you know, the obituary, and basically she tells Ralphie to write what to really write about his father, what he feels, and, you know, his love and such for his old man. Yeah, so that's what he needs to do, and that's what Ralphie then does. He starts to rewrite the obituary. He writes it, you know, how he wants to write it, and just to naturally do it, and how he really feels about his old man and the love he had for his old man. Yeah, that's what's important. And then there is a moment where Mark and Julie get revenge on the two bullies who were riding the snowmobile by, building a snowman and making it like the face of the snowman looks like hideous, different random pieces on it. But little do the two bullies know what's in store for them when they hit the snowman, because what happens next is when the bullies are there and they're about to run over the snowman, well, what was covered, what was underneath the snowman, what the two kids built, under the snowman was, I think, like a tree stump or something like that, and that basically destroys and damages their snowmobile, and it sends them flying, and yeah, they got them good. And even the Bumpus kid stole a couple of pieces from the snowmobile. It was pretty funny, yeah. And later that night, all is going so well in the Parker house. They have the radio on, and on the radio, and even to this day, they still do this, reporting the whereabouts of where Santa is, like he's there and, where he is on Christmas Eve. And again, everything's going so well until at one point, the star on top of the tree, it accidentally falls off and it breaks. And Mark and Julie are devastated about this because without a star, Santa won't come. And Ralphie is assuring them that Santa will come, but he's the one that told them that without a star, Santa won't come, so that's on him. And Ralphie is not giving up. Even though it's Christmas Eve, he is going to do whatever it takes, and he's not giving up, to get a new star for the tree again. Even though it's Christmas Eve, he's not giving up. He's not stopping. He still wants this Christmas to be a magical Christmas. And that's a good... what Ralphie's doing, that shows you that's a good family man / father right there. And hey, just like how his old man was, definitely. So Ralphie heads out to find a new star for the Christmas tree. And yeah, because at this point in the evening time, every store building is closed for Christmas Eve. But then he almost passes by Flick's bar, and he sees a star on top of a Christmas tree in Flick's bar. And, as Ralphie, him narrating explains that if Flick were here, he would open the doors for Ralphie. But because, well, at this point, Flick has gone to bed, nobody's there to help Ralphie. And it's up to Ralphie to get in the back of the bar to get the star. And, of course, Ralphie does leave a note that he will return the star and pay for a broken window that he accidentally broke when trying to get into the back of the bar. And so he successfully gets the star. And what happens next? Well, a policeman catches Ralphie, and this policeman is an old familiar face that Ralphie beat the crap out of. And I think we all know who it is. It's Officer Scut Farkus. And Officer Scut Farkus, once again being played by Zach Ward, Ralphie knew and recognized Scut Farkus. Even Scut Farkus recognized him, and Ralphie having dreams / visions of Scut Farkus in that bully getup that he wore and that raccoon-skinned hat. That was really great. And Scut Farkus, of course, because he catched Ralphie stealing from Flick's bar, he has Ralphie get into the back of the police car, and who knows what's going to happen to Ralphie next, because he caught Ralphie, stealing from Flick's bar. He has Ralphie get in the back of the police car, and Ralphie, in his head / mind, and as he's narrating, he's panicking and freaking out what's going to happen next. And we get another fantasy / dream sequence where apparently in this one, it takes place 10 years later. Ralphie, who's been rotting in jail, and he's now got long hair and a long beard. He's really now an old man 10 years later. And he gets a visit from his wife and 2 kids. And oh my gosh, because obviously this is not the case, and Ralphie should, know better. We see that his wife, Sandy, she's like I want to say wearing, stylish New York, clothes, I want to say. And, Mark and Julie, they're now older and, they're now teenagers. It's pretty funny, and as they're credited, older Mark, older Julie. Older Mark being played by Billy Brayshaw, if I'm saying that right, and older Julie being played by Tegan Grace McGridge. Hope I'm saying that right. Again, you know me sometimes. For older Mark, he's now, Gothic, I want to say, and he apparently is speaking British, okay? And for older Julie, she's pregnant, and she has a wonky eye, because after what happened with the snowball hitting her eye, and they start to laugh at Ralphie, and then Ralphie turns around and sees Scut Farkus and Grover Dill. Grover Dill makes an appearance. We don't actually see Grover Dill, in reality in this film, just in that one scene in the fantasy/dream sequence, and Grover Dill once again being played by Yano Anaya, if I'm saying his full name right. Yeah, him. And just like in the original, because, Grover and Scut, each of them just doing that, and Scut hitting him the hardest, ow, man. He says those lines once again. It's pretty funny. But after that dream/fantasy sequence, what happens next is, they're approaching the police station. However, Scut does not stop the police car at the police station. Well, what's going to happen? Because they're not going to the police station, and Ralphie thinking, and as he's narrating, Scut Farkus is going to kill me. But sure enough, Scut actually brought him back home. Because what happens next is that, Scut has changed his ways, and, he's a much better person and man, and, both Scut and Ralphie, they seem to get along now. And even Scut tells Ralphie after what happened to him, 33 years ago, I want to say. That's what Scut established, because after what Ralphie did to Scut, beating the crap out of him, because Scut, as Scut explained, he was trying to be tough. But after what Ralphie did to him, something changed in Scut. And look what Scut has done now with his life. Become a pretty good police officer. And again, seems like as of now, Scut and Ralphie, they've mended their ways, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's nice to see. And it's nice to see that, Scut let him off the hook, and I think, he got the idea what Ralph was doing and, what he was trying to do for Christmas, etc., for his family. I'm pretty sure, yeah. And, right before Scut left, he said something funny, and Ralph just, and we hear Scut laughing, still got the laugh, of course, and thus, Scut drives away, and, yeah, it was nice. Again, it's nice to see that Scut became a much better person, and, and besides, even Scut admitted that, what he was like, he was just a kid, so that's understandable. And so, Ralphie succeeded getting a new star for the top of the Christmas tree, and there's a moment where Ralphie, he's, sitting in the living room, and his mother comes up, and it's just like in the original, because when the mother comes downstairs, and it's, late in the evening, and the Christmas lights are on, and so on, that. And, it's a very nice, sweet moment, and, talking about how much each of them miss the old man, and, the moment is ruined because the lights burn out, and just like in, the original, the fuse is out. That's pretty funny. And Miss Parker assures Ralphie that she can take care of this, and so on. And the next day, it's Christmas Day, and of course Mark and Julie, being kids, they're all hyped and excited to open gifts, waking up their parents, and actually, because Sandy this time went out and got new presents for their kids, but little do they know, and they happen to see a couple of other presents that Miss Parker pulled out from, I want to say, yeah, the basement. They came from the old man. The old man, before he sadly passed away, he had gotten Christmas gifts for the entire family. You know, not just Ralphie, Sandy, and his wife, but also his grandkids. And it's the gifts that the kids were asking for. And you know, at first the gifts that they were going to get, they were stolen. The old man made sure to get them, like, he knew. And that, oh my gosh, like, that is such a good connection, because, and just like in the original, because the old man asking Ralphie, you know, did you tell Santa what you wanted? And Ralphie saying no, and the old man assuring him, don't worry, he knows. He always knows. Well, so does the old man. He knew. And the fact that in the original, like everybody felt that it was a bad idea for Ralphie to get a Red Ryder BB gun, and there wasn't really anything going on with the old man and listening to this and so on. But you know what? He did listen, and he did get Ralphie the Red Ryder BB gun. Even, like, the old man established that he had one when he was 8 years old. So talk about how much of a great father the old man was, and like father and son. Oh, it's just so good right there. So good. Also, Ralphie did get a car radiator, thanks to Julie. Yeah, it was one of Ralphie's Christmas gifts. Like, again, that's very sweet of Julie and what she did for her father. Yeah, again, just very sweet and touching. And not only that, but what happens next, because it still seems like that, you know, for Ralphie trying to get a story out and find a publisher, and what he wrote this time, you know, something fresh and new for the obituary of his old man. Well, sure enough, some of the Cleveland Street neighbors, like, they notice Ralphie and they, you know, congratulate him on what he's written. And they're referring to the obituary of his old man. It made its way to the newspapers, thanks to Ralphie's beloved wife, Sandy, because when Ralphie, and as Sandy explains, when he went to find a new star for the Christmas tree, she took Miss Parker's car and made her way to, like, the newspaper office, I want to say, yeah, and submitted, you know, the obituary of the old man that Ralphie wrote. And yeah, mission accomplished, because again, it's now on the newspapers and it's going to be worldwide. Like, and what Ralphie wrote about his old man, the obituary, was fantastic. Yeah, because Sandy read it and everybody else did. And what happens next is, well, a Christmas dinner, of course, happening, and everybody from Homan/Cleveland Street arrive at the Parker house, including Schwartz and Flick. And even, he made it, Randy. Randy finally showed up, reuniting with his brother, his mother, and his sister-in-law, Sandy, because how their interaction is, you know, Randy, Sandy, and Mark and Julie seeing their Uncle Randy, as he's referred to. And yeah, because Randy did fell for it, and it's brought up because, you know, what Ralphie told Randy on the phone about their mother is funny. And yeah, because again, everybody, they read what was on the newspaper about Ralphie's old man. It was fantastic. And the last scene in the film, well, because Miss Parker did not read the obituary of the old man / her late husband, you know, because the obituary of him, she did not read it yet because she wanted to hear it from her son. She wanted Ralphie to read it to her and to everybody else, and thus that's what he does. He sits in his old man's chair, the same chair that his old man sat in when reading a newspaper. Just very touching. And thus he reads it, and then at the end of it, well, he's saying some of the exact same lines that the original narrator, Gene Shepard, had read, and it goes from Ralphie's voice, Peter's voice that is, to Gene Shepard's voice, and getting one last bit of archive footage from A Christmas Story. The very first piece of footage that starts the original and where it began. Oh, like, the way that it ended, like, perfect, just perfect. And during the end credits, because we get comparison photos of, you know, the original and in this. And as I mentioned early, because Ralphie tricking Randy into, you know, coming down to Cleveland Street, and, you know, what he said to Randy about their mother, because, you know, like, him looking at the camera, kind of breaking the fourth wall. The same thing that happened in the original, when he tricked his mother into thinking that an icicle hit his face / his eye, and he looks directly at the camera, like, yeah, that, like, so, like, I think, like, I mean, it has to be, I mean, well, duh, because the comparison photos of those two, because, you know, like a reference to what happened in the original. Like, again, so many references and homages to the original. Just everything about it. Like, again, as I've been saying, this movie did a really good job with that. And I can't forget to mention this. The music in A Christmas Story Christmas. The music is fantastic, and sometimes they repeat some of the same piece of music that was in the original. Like, fantastic. Like, this movie did a fantastic with, you know, bringing back some of the, you know, best musical, like, music pieces from the original. And not to mention, because, like, and also, there was, like, you know, like, that one piece of music where, like, a montage, like, quick clips of Ralphie Schwartz and Flick getting chased by Scud and Grover, and that music, dun, 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 like, that's played at times. Oh, that was pretty good. A Christmas Story Christmas. Again, what a fantastic / perfect sequel / follow-up to the original. It didn't disappoint. Everything that this movie brought, from paying tribute to the original and paying tribute to Darren McGavin, everything that this movie brought did a fantastic job, and I really enjoyed it. I really did. And I'm giving, and because how much I've been saying that, you know, how much I've enjoyed this film, 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, for A Christmas Story Christmas, I'm giving it 10 out of 10 stars. Again, I really enjoyed this sequel / follow-up to the original. Everything about this was perfect, and they did a really good job capturing the memories and homages / tribute to this, and, again, paying tribute and in memory of the late, legendary Darren McGavin, aka the Old Man. And what about you guys? What did you think of A Christmas Story Christmas itself? Are you like me too? Like, did you think this was pretty good? Like, yeah, I mean, there are those that probably thought this was but I have seen a lot of praise for this, and that's great. That's great to see. Again, do you think that A Christmas Story Christmas did a really good job paying tribute and homage to the original? Do you think that the storytelling for this was pretty good, and with the cast of characters? Everything about this film, and what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, this year's list of Christmassy films for me to review on the weekdays has come to a close. It's been a lot of fun, and I think I picked some pretty good Christmassy films to review on the weekdays, and I'm sure you guys liked what I reviewed for this Christmas. And I can't wait until next Christmas. Thank you very much for watching, for all that I have reviewed throughout the month of December for the weekdays and the weekends, of course. And yeah, until next Christmas, for the next batch of Christmassy films that I'll be reviewing, I'll see you guys in the next video / review. Take care, peace out, and for one last time, happy holidays / Merry Christmas and / Happy New Year to all of you.